We're starting part 11 here. This is actually the same day, a little later on, it's in the evening now, that I made the crappy speaker mount here, which I'm not very proud of, mainly because of the way the pop rivets came out. I got the volume control in. What a hell of a job getting off that adapter that was on here. There's the old volume control. I'm using a different camera now. I seem to have some sound problems with the JVC. It seems to get very loud and then it goes way down low. So I don't know what's going on here. We're using the Kodak right now. I got the control in, and I will show you under the chassis just a minute here. Alright, volume control is supposed to be a modern one, but it looks about the same, maybe just a little smaller in diameter, but it is a vintage control. 500,000 ohm, it reads a little over 600, but that's normal. There is a big tolerance on those things anyways. It's very, very nice, but it is short. As you can see, the shaft is very short on it, so we got a hole in the middle of it. I guess it's like threaded or something. But anyways, I'm going to get this adapter out and we'll see what the length is after we get the adapter. We're going to have to use the adapter on this because this shaft is shorter than this. And it's not splined. Alright, from the looks of it, very close, as a matter of fact. About the same. But unfortunately, we have to use this. Now, I took the, as you can tell, I took the plate off because I had a heck of a time getting the original nut off. It's one of those lousy, crappy nuts, this type here, which is now in the junk bin, in the garbage right now. So, this fits on there. I had to take out the set screws on here because I had a hell of a time getting it off the old control, and it was like pressed on there. So I couldn't. I took the set screws right out, and they're put away in a little container, and it still wouldn't come off. So I had to pry it underneath, and the whole control was turning. Eventually I got it off, and this is the incorrect control that was in there. And you can tell the original control, which is not the right one, it's only 1600 ohms, has been hacked off. So this looks to me like it's going to be almost perfect. If I have to, I can saw this down a little bit, but I'm not taking it off to do that. I had a time getting that in there, but I got it wired, and I also changed out that brand new little tiny 100 volt 0.01 and put in the 630. Not that it would need a higher voltage, but the leads were so flimsy on it that the thing kept getting bent and pushed down in the chassis. So it looked a little better with a little better capacitor in there. So that is about it. Now, what I am going to do today, and this is going to be part 11, is I am going to clip lead the antenna on here, the coil in the back. And you can see here I've got the audio output transformer with cable ties around the electrolytic, because these wires are getting a beating. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a test speaker up here, right here, with the, you can see the leads on it, and I'm going to hook that up. That was buried in the back of my shop, so I'm going to hook that up so we don't have to worry about using the other speaker, because we don't want to put this in here and have it get damaged. I did have it mounted. I'll tell you, the more I look at this crappy job I did with the pop rivets, the more I dislike it. I'm almost tempted to snip this off with a good heavy pair of dikes, put a nut and bolt in there, because I think that will not interfere with the chassis. I think it would look a lot better, because I just don't like what I did there. I don't like the fact that it, trying to straighten this out in the vise, put a little pressure and probably bent the frame just a wee bit and distorted the cone. You can see it here and here, but not that bad. It didn't cause the voice coil to go off center or anything, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hook up the test speaker to the leads here. You can see that. We'll set you on a tripod and we'll fire this thing up. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! Oh, Terrell, that's burning in my mind. Anybody watches Terrell Fixes All. But anyways, so we'll take this off for now, because we don't need this on yet. And we'll get you on a tripod and we'll put the tubes back in. I pulled out the 12 SQ7 over here, and of course I got to replace these two, and I got to lift this coil, off the capacitor. Wait, I got that on there tight. Alright, we'll come back. You can see the antenna here. We got the radio faced away from you. Volume controls all the way up. And apparently this control is a new old stock. I cleaned it with deoxide because the switch was given high resistance when it was on, even though I worked it back and forth. Put some deoxide in there and that cleared it up. I did the same with the original. Well, this is the control that was only 1600 ohms. And this switch was the same way until I cleaned it with deoxide, then it was fine. So, okay, we've got the Variac panel on. You may not see that. We got the speaker hooked up right here. Let me get it just a little more here. Let's crank up the voltage to 117 volts. Now, I hope I didn't put the bad 35Z5 in here. We'll find out if it don't work. Obviously it does, because the bad one did not light up. The tubes did not light. Okay. Gotta unplug my dehumidifier. Now, I don't have the plate on here.
Big story. Wait. Recently? So he knew this was coming out and tried to get ahead.
Go to perfectbuilding.com to learn more and see their enhanced scientific disinfecting services. It's perfectbuilding.com.
Plenty of volume.
Next after this from Stu Leonard's. This week at Stu's Farm Fresh Foods. Get their favorite.
And wholly contrary to NFL's values.
If interested, email your resume and cover letter to Danielle H. at SalemBoston. That's Danielle H. at SalemBoston.com. Share Facebook. Salem Media Group. TV
I have a lot of trouble with this tube sockets in this thing.
Fire him. Fire him anytime they want. Yeah, I mean, they got pay him. Yeah. The news is next as we follow these stories.
New York City schools will phase out the gifted and talented program and launch what they say will be a more inclusive system. The New Jersey teachers
It's a hard shaft to turn by hand because it's short.
100% false. A 3-year-old boy dies after falling out a window in Harlem. Good evening, I'm Michael Wallace. I'm Steve Scott. CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell is up next. WCBS News Time, 6:30.
Expected job losses in healthcare and education. The president tried to put the best spin on those numbers.
Maybe it doesn't seem fast enough. I'd like to see it faster, and we're going to make it faster.
Breaking news, guilty on all counts.
Or download but about a better way to transfer money.
I'd say it's working quite well. But you see how short that is? It's hard to get a grasp on it.
Settle and
gliding up and out of the zone.
Journalists from the Philippines and Russia are honored for defying repression to report the truth and kindness many times over.
Okay.
CBS's Steve Hartman is on the road with a woman who turns from...
Okay. Alright, shut my stuff off here. When that's shut off, we don't have to worry about leaving the soldering station on all night. It's never happened yet. Okay, so this is part 11. And what we're going to do, we're going to continue with this part 11. I'm using WVGA on this video. We're going to continue with part 11, but it'll be a little later on after I get the speaker, the output transformer from Doug and so forth on here, and then we'll stick that part on part 11. So that'll probably be some time yet. So for you, it's only going to be a fraction of a second. But for me, it could be a week or 2 weeks or longer. So we'll continue with this video when we get the adapter for this. We'll see how it works out. And we'll see how this speaker works out. I am very concerned with this speaker being mounted, that it may not line up with the grill in the cabinet, and we definitely got to get rid of this ugliness that I got holding it together. Now that I cut it out and everything else, I can probably take one at a time out, put a nut and bolt in there. So I'll be doing that, and we'll either have this mounted correctly with the output transformer on part 11. If not, there may be a part 12. Okay, we're back again. I believe this is October 17th, if I'm not mistaken. We got the speaker redone again on the bracket. I took them ugly pop rivet jobs things out of there, and had to drill out the holes in the sheet metal behind it. Get you on macro here. And I got nuts and bolts in here on each side. And I got the prototype of Doug's transformer mount in here. You can see that it's crooked because I just got it laid in there, and the little tabs don't go down over the side. I could notch out this white plastic here on each side here to make it fit, but I just figured I'd stick this in because Doug wanted me to test this with the heat. You can see it's about a 1/4 inch from these two tubes here. It's about an 1/8 inch away from the IF transformer, and I did a half-ass job putting the wires on. I wanted to use a little bit of this gray wire that was already on the speaker and make the connections that way. Now, the distance, because of this mount here, the distance between the bottom of the cabinet, the chassis, which sits on the floor of the cabinet, to the outer edge of the cone, where this hard cardboard is, right here, is 1.25 inches. On the inside the cabinet here, well, we're sitting on asbestos down here. It's 1 inch. There isn't going to be a problem with the height, but this will not mate to this. The speaker's going to be too high. But for testing purposes, we're going to put this in the cabinet, and we're just going to run the radio. I'm not going to connect the antenna up. I'm just going to run the radio and see what it does in the cabinet and see how much heat it generates on this plastic here. Okay, the radio's on. Of course, we don't have the antenna connected. But main thing is we want to see how hot it gets in here with these tubes. The top of that speaker frame comes about a little over the top of the cardboard on the underneath the grill cloth over there. So there's not much I can do about that unless I put the original speaker back into one exact fit. The speaker had to be raised up because of the basket was deeper, made differently, and it wouldn't sit right, and it hung out. And this time it's straight up and down. So the volume's all the way up, believe it or not. Well, let me hook the antenna up. That won't take long. Okay. A little better. That's my camera.
Yes, Health and Wellbeing Report, sponsored by Valley Health System, enhancing the health of...
Theoretical and able to line up it back right at 12.5 and away or 12 and away, whichever one, whatever drop you send over there. So yeah, that's our feature that we added to this. Is we upgraded the display in this, and it's a
We're going to let this run. Well, I'm letting this radio run.
Came from behind to clean their first.
With the volume down, of course, so I can listen to the hams. It's getting warm in there. Of course, that's understandable, but not really hot. You can see the tube lid in there. It's what they call a toaster radio, for obvious reasons. There's your 2 slices of bread right here. This sticks out about an 1/8 inch more than this. So I didn't want to hack the shaft off. Now, another thing I could do is take out the control if there's enough room to pull it back and put a couple of washers in there to bring it in further so that this goes in more, but not a big deal. When I got the radio, the knob was sticking out because it only can go on so far because the shaft is extra long compared to this. This would go right up to the cabinet with the little felt strip that goes under it. And this one here was spaced out about a 1/4 of an inch on the old control. So the shaft on the newer control is a little bit shorter, but because of that adapter, it still sticks out quite a bit. So we're going to let this run. It's only been running for about 25 minutes so far. So I won't let it run all night. I don't leave my stuff going in the shop all night long, except for the dehumidifier, which I had to unplug because of the interference it makes on everything, including this. Let's just see what's on tonight.
The Tiger doesn't change its stripes. And I bet you he found a little old lady out there. She had the clap. But he decided to go ahead and anyway. A very young bear. I'm not going to go further because after all,
they're on AM, which is what I like listening to, but this is a single sideband transceivers. So if they're not right on frequency, you have to tune them in.
Anyway, there you sound good. You're nice and loud. I trust everything is copacetic. I had a little adventure in New Hampshire. And the other fact is, I would definitely put up an OptiBeam.
Okay, I put a small piece of wood in here to simulate this being in place, because I don't want to put that in now, until I'm ready to close it all up. So, anyways, it's not getting all that high. It's getting a little warm, but not all that bad. And I don't think the plastic is going to melt. If it was right on top of the tube, it would. So we'll let this sit, and we'll let it run for about an hour. That should be good enough. 1 hour should be. Of course, it's not real warm in the shop. We got cooler weather now. So, but nonetheless, it should be a good idea of how it's going to do.
Welded to the plate. They stay there. You can get them out, but he even warns you when you put that antenna of his together to mark off, slide it into the aluminum tube.
After using Zantac or other heartburn medications for several months, Zantac may be linked to these cancers: bladder, colorectal, esophageal, intestinal, kidney, liver, ovarian, pancreatic, stomach, testicular, and uterine. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with cancer after using Zantac or other heartburn medications for several months, call now. Never stop taking medication without first consulting a physician. Call right now.
Well, it's not bad. It distorts quite a bit. I don't want to play the music here because of the copyright Nazis, but it's all the way up. That was all the way up. So, I don't think it's the speaker. It could be the audio output too, but it tests okay. But I could probably try another one in there. I may have one. But that'll be later on. All right, this is the next day. And we're going to pull the chassis. We'll disconnect the antenna wires here. And pull the chassis and see. I don't think it's melted. I ran this for about an hour. That should be enough. You know, and putting that little board in there, that would represent the back being on. It's true I didn't play it for 3 or 4 hours, but I think we'll be okay. Okay. Now, as you can see here, and I think you can see that pretty good, I hope so, I need to cut a notch in each end of this so that the tabs will fit down, so that the transformer will sit flat. See if you can see that better. Maybe now. No, off camera. I think you can see that. Transformer's not sitting flat on it because I need to trim the ends of it, but I don't want to cut this mount because Doug told me that it's not solid all the way through. As you can see, it's not melted. It doesn't appear to have melted. Again, we're not running this hours and hours on end, which I usually don't run the radio that much anyways. And I got the tie wrap going around the transformer in this position. I think it's a lot better. It's pretty firm. And make sure we don't lose our camera here. This can be, it's just pressed on there, and I can pull it up and out, but I don't want to do that now because I got the wires kind of short up into here where my finger is. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, right there. So, okay, so it appears that the material in the mount made by Doug on the 3D printer is going to hold up just fine. Getting you another view here. You can see I got the tab overhanging this side. And the tab not going over on this side. So this would probably have to be shortened. The top part here, from here to here, would have to be shortened a little bit so I can get these tabs to hang over the side. However, you can see this is hanging over the side. I think you can see that. I hope you can. So I'm not on macro. I'll get you on macro and I'll try to get closer here. Alright. Now, even though this tab, if we was to shorten this piece here, not quite as long, so that both tabs will hang over the side like this, and not going to be able to secure it any other way, You can't do it with a bungee cord or anything. I keep saying bungee cord, a tie wrap. Because you're not going to get it in there, as you can see. So I almost put the pen right through the cone that time. That's why I like using my fingers. It's safer. So, again, even if these tabs were longer, then if it was longer, I could put a cable tie up underneath. But you can see here, the transformer is about even with the top of the speaker. The cone is distorted. I tried to straighten the frame out, but it doesn't appear to be bent, but yet there's a distortion in the cone. You can see it there. From me trying to bend this bracket while the speaker was mounted when I did it in the vise. But you can see now it looks a lot better with two nice little screws in there holding it in. It has to be lifted up like that because you can see where the IF can is right inside and very close to the cone. And on this side, I can't read that. I can't read if that's I'm sorry, I can't see that from here, but it's either the audio output tube 35L6 or the 35Z5. I can't read that from here. I need a magnifying glass to get closer, but you might be able to see it. But you can see how close the tube is to that. So we're very limited with what we can do here because the speaker is not exactly the same. Now, I am not sure without pulling this off, and I can't do that yet because of the wires, and I don't want to risk breaking those wires off the secondary of the output transformer. But I measured on the old speaker right here, the original speaker, 3.5 ohms DC, which translates to, if I remember my stuff from years ago, is about 4 ohms impedance. I think this is 8 ohms, so it's distorted. When you turn it up, anything beyond the normal listening level, it's very distorted. It could be the audio output tube, 35L6, could be a little bad. All the capacitors have been changed, so that's not going to be a problem. All the resistors are within spec, so that's not going to be a problem. But if you don't have the proper impedance of the speaker, it's not going to match the audio output tube. Your impedance of your output transformer is governed by the speaker you connect to it. So if this is designed for a 4 ohm speaker, which I am sure this is by my ohm meter check, your impedance is going to be wrong on the primary. The output tube is going to see, if I'm not mistaken, the output tube is going to see a higher impedance. Again, I'd have to look in the tube manual. I can't remember offhand. But there is a big difference, because I think this is an 8 ohm speaker, and I really can't remove that. Not unless I unsolder these wires. Let me see if I can read that down there. Yes, it's 8 ohms. I plainly saw it down in here. You may not see that, but I looked in there with a magnifier. 8 ohms, 3 watts. Okay, that's what I thought. So there's an impedance mismatch, big time. Now, if this was a 6 ohm speaker, It wouldn't be quite as bad, but because we got a big impedance mismatch here, there's a possibility that we may not be able to use this speaker, and we may be forced to recone this, and I can't do that. It sure would solve a lot of problems if I can get this to go back in with a new cone, but that's something I can't do. So, yes, the radio works if you play it about just normal volume. In other words, you couldn't turn it up to fill a room. You wouldn't be able to do that, but you could keep the volume at a lower level, and it's not bad. Otherwise, you crank it up, and you got about 50% distortion. I mean, it's horrible. So, here is what I am going to do. We'll wait to hear from Doug. Doug has been off making videos for a while, taking a break from YouTube, and I can't blame him. We all need a break. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end part number 11 at this point in time. As you saw, the volume control worked out really well. Changed the capacitor to a larger one there on the slider of the volume control. And the radio is working good. I still don't know what that trimmer is down here, because it's not in the alignment instructions. You can see it right there. I can't point to it. I'm holding the radio. But it's just above a coil there. See that coil with the little distorted form? It's not perfectly round. There's a trimmer capacitor, a pattern capacitor right in there to the right of the volume control. I don't see any information on that as to what that adjusts. But I did peek up the IFs. You saw me do that. It might need a little bit more tweaking. But right at this time, I'm going to leave things like this because these wires are taking a beating here. Insulation will be off in no time, and there's no way I can put spaghetti tubing over that or heat shrink or anything else, because I'd have to go down under the chassis and unsolder them. And no thank you. It's behind the filter choke. So I'm not dealing with that. So because the radio probably will not get used that much, this would probably be fine. The speaker is up higher because of the design of the cone basket on this speaker versus the other one. I had to raise it up, and also because of the nuts and bolts I had to put in here versus the pop rivets. But even when the pop rivets were here, I had to make this bracket to raise the cone up about, the speaker up about, I would say probably 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, which brings the speaker even with the top of the dial, but also brings the cone rim here where my finger is, right here, out of line with the speaker rim in the cabinet. It's up higher. It's up from here to here is 1 inch, 1.25 rather, and it's only 1 inch from here to here. In other words, the speaker's supposed to sit lower, but that's impossible. It can't be done here with this speaker. Okay, so I'm going to end part 11. There may be a part 12, probably, most likely will be. But at this stage of the game, you got to remember that this is almost 2 weeks later, or at least 10 days later anyways, since I started this. When I started this project, part 11, I was doing it the same day in the later afternoon after I did the metal work on this. And you can see I've improved the metal work, and I had done some work with it and bent the metal a little better, so that it wasn't putting a strain on the speaker, and I was able to get it, and it's mounted pretty rigid. So it's not really going to go anywhere. I don't like the bungee cord idea, but that's that's the way it's going to be for now, because this is only temporary. As you can see, the plastic is holding very good. So these tubes did get very hot, but not that bad. So that's it, folks. That concludes part 11. I'm going to be working on that today. So thank you for watching, and we will probably have a part number 12 coming up to a computer near you soon. When, I don't know.